In the world of high-stakes industrial operations, a single beep on a monitor, maybe a weird vibration in a pipe, that can be the first whisper of a total catastrophe. Today, we're going to talk about the razor-thin line that separates a manageable problem from an all-out disaster, and, more importantly, what it takes to stay on the right side of it. So, what is it, really? What is the one thing that stands between a minor hiccup in the system and a catastrophic failure that end up on the news? Is it just dumb luck? Is it some fancy new technology? Well, it's actually a lot simpler, and at the same time, way more complex than that. It all comes down to just a few crucial moments, and the right decision being made by a person who's been trained for this exact scenario. That's it. That's the difference. Now, to make that right decision, the very first step is knowing exactly what you're up against. And this isn't just about using the right words. Correctly classifying the situation is what guides every single action that comes next. Okay, so here's the core distinction. Think of an abnormal operation like a check engine light in your car. Yeah, the process is unstable, something's not right, but it's still contained. It's a signal to act now. But an emergency situation? That means the firewalls have been breached, the safety barriers have failed, and now there's an immediate threat to people, to the environment, or to the plant itself. One's a problem to be solved, the other is a crisis to be survived. And this difference is so critical because, catastrophes almost never just appear out of thin air. They send out signals first. They whisper these little clues long before they start shouting. And a great operator is trained to listen very, very closely. And these are the whispers we're talking about. It might be a slow, weird trend in the data that just looks a little off. Or maybe an alarm that keeps going off over and over. Operators actually call that chattering. It could even be a brand new noise coming from a pump, or a utility like power or cooling water that's starting to flicker. Each one of these is just a small deviation, right? But together, they could be pieces of a puzzle spelling out one word: danger. And this, right here, really gets to the heart of the matter. Those small deviations are everything. Ignoring them is how you let a problem grow into a monster. The real skill isn't just reacting to a massive failure, it's about seeing these tiny signs and stepping in before they ever get the chance to blow up. So, an operator spots one of these warning signs. What happens next? Is it panic? No way. It's the exact opposite. It's a calm, disciplined, methodical response that has been practiced and honed for hours and hours in training. This protocol is really the bedrock of a safe response. First, you verify. Is that sensor reading for real, or is the instrument just on the fritz? Second, you stabilize. You don't try to fix it while the system is running wild. You slow things down. Maybe you cut back the feed or the energy just to get things back under control. Then, you tell everyone what's going on. And finally, you open the book and follow the specific written procedure for that exact situation. Notice that stabilizing comes before fixing. Gaining control is always the top priority. But what happens if trying to stabilize doesn't work? What happens when those containment barriers fail anyway? This is the tipping point. This is the moment a manageable problem crosses that red line and becomes a full-blown emergency. The definition of an emergency is sharp, and it's totally unforgiving. It's not technically an emergency until the primary safety systems, the ones that were designed specifically to prevent a disaster, have been defeated. Now we're talking about an immediate threat. The time for gentle course correction is long gone. In these moments, hesitation is your absolute worst enemy. Every single second you delay, the potential consequences can grow exponentially. This is where decisive action, following a clear plan, is literally what saves lives and stops a bad situation from becoming so much worse. So when that red line gets crossed, the playbook changes completely. All the normal goals of the day just go right out the window, and a brand new, super rigid set of priorities takes over. And these priorities are absolute. Priority number one, above everything else, is people. Every single action is now focused on one thing: getting everyone to safety, period. Only after that do you get to priority two, protecting the plant and the equipment, mostly to prevent the situation from getting even bigger. And dead last on the list is production. Now, this can be the hardest mental switch for an operator who's trained to keep things running efficiently. But in a crisis, trying to maintain production is just a dangerous distraction. Safety always wins. And to pull this off, you've got two key roles working in perfect sync. The control room operator is like the brain of the operation. They see the whole picture, they coordinate the response, and they make the big calls like hitting the emergency shutdown. The field operator is the eyes, ears, and hands out on the ground. They're assessing the local danger, carrying out commands, and getting out when they're told. Crystal clear communication between them is absolutely everything. And, after the alarms finally stop ringing, the work isn't over, not by a long shot. In fact, some of the most important work is just about to begin. This is all about recovery, and even more importantly, about learning. The immediate aftermath takes just as much discipline. The plant is put into a safe, stable state. Nothing, and I mean nothing, gets restarted without top-level authorization. And critically, you treat the area like a crime scene. You preserve all the evidence so that investigators can piece together exactly what happened. The goal isn't just to get back online. It's to learn from it so this never, ever happens again. So when you boil it all down, what's really standing on that thin line between a problem and a disaster? It isn't some fancy piece of technology. It's a mindset. It's the professional discipline to follow the rules, the confidence that comes from constant training, and a deep, unwavering trust in procedure. That is the ultimate safety barrier. Which brings us to a final, really crucial question. We can write procedures all day long. We can build simulators. We can drill and we can test. But can that true, deep-seated mindset of readiness, that calm, decisive instinct you need when you're under extreme pressure, can that actually be trained? Or is it something more fundamental?